Well, what's next?
As you can see around me, we've got models. A lot of them are built in the three-dimensional world. It's starting to change now. We're starting to do models, digital models.
Created a monster, now you want us to kill it.
Radio astronomers receive a DNA code from outer space, and they clone it with a human, and it's here for no good.
In the case of Species, we had a director that was basically an action director. We provided him with a digital puppet in a background scene that had been previously photographed that was directable by him, and we could do multiple takes. We did over 100 takes in an afternoon.
To bring Syl to life, obviously the first step was digitizing her into the computer. So we went through massive modeling of the creature. From this, an electronic creature was devised in which we could actually capture the joint rotations and positions in 3-space. At that point, we could have puppeteers actually do the motion, capture that animation, and then bring that through the animation process using kinemation. With Alias and wavefront, it's getting people interested in digital as a medium for film.
I feel now the same way I felt when I did Star Wars. We're now in this digital age, which is much more sophisticated. The audience is more sophisticated, more demanding. I'm very fortunate to have two kind of events of this nature happen in my career.
What I like to do is walk in the morning. It's great for your brain when you get out in the air in the morning and you see all this stuff and you get juices flowing. I came up here a lot when I did Batman. Gotham City, the idea of creating a model that would be large enough to allow us to get the scope of the shot that actually ended up in the film was impractical. The obvious solution to this was to create a CGI city. The toughest thing that we did on the movie was probably the fall. It's a completely computer-generated image. We used wavefront material to do the animatic for it, Alias to do the modeling and rendering of the image of the building which went in the background. It was a real challenge, it was a real breath holder, and it went down to the wire. And it worked. My experience with Batman and the wavefront and Alias software that I used in that environment is that it is a lot more intuitive process. You didn't have to go all the way back to the basic model in order to change an animation. There weren't as many circuitous routes to achieve an end result. And obviously it's faster. And I think that's critical.
Education, that's what I need.
Here at Art Center, not unlike other places, the creative process of design involves many variations on a theme. Typically, the more exploration you can do in a certain direction, the sooner you can come up with a point where you say, yes, this is a good design, continue. No, don't continue. The better off you are at coming up with the best solution. One thing that the software and the tools that we use in the digital realm enable us to do is explore broader applications of design or experiment more broadly with design in newer ways that the traditional tools will not allow us to do. In the digital experimentation areas, you can stretch, you can change color, you can explore form, texture, any of those numerous various explorations can happen. Designers love to sketch. With Studio Paint, they can sketch just as well and have more freedom to explore and experiment than they were on traditional paper. What we're able to do with Studio Paint is many variations quickly, ultimately coming up with the best theme, the best concept, and then take that further into 3D as smoothly as we can. And in our experience, Alias has great modeling tools that allow our designers to explore their creative vision in many new and interesting ways.
We're absolutely confident that given a few seconds, we can solve any problem. Give us minutes, we'll solve them all. 13.
I think what interests me about visual effects is kind of fooling the audience. So the type of shots I enjoy are the ones that don't look like visual effects.
Dive! Dive!
Crimson Tide for me was about texture and lighting. Since Tony Scott, the director, is a lighting cameraman, that's what he was about. And so the most important thing to us was to be able to integrate the digital objects such as torpedoes, wakes, bubbles into film backgrounds, which were the model photography. So that's where about 90% of our energy went, was producing beautiful textural type images that would work on screen to his liking. When you're underwater, it's very difficult to see even a third of the length down an Alabama or a Trident type submarine. So in order to show the sequence, Tony decided to use the torpedoes as kind of like the arrow between the two opposing groups. And so when we first approached the problem, we began using traditional underwater wet techniques where we had a third scale torpedo. But very quickly, you realize that you can't make a torpedo do a turn, or you don't have a tank big enough to show the scene. So that's when digital technology or CGI torpedoes were put into the mode. And we found that the two packages, Dynamation and Alias, worked very, very well together. We had two crews that were familiar with both. I think the advantage of Dynamation is that we were able to get motion very, very quickly. In terms of lighting and rendering, I think we found the Alias package to be very, very exceptional in that. When you have to be able to produce highlights and shadows, the rendering in the Alias system worked very, very well.
Alias, Wavefront have been two SGI partners for, 10 years, since the beginning of the company. We know them like we know ourselves, like like brothers and sisters of the family. The cultures are similar, the technology they're working on is similar, they know our systems, we know their applications, we sell to the same customers, kind of a natural, really. This is like three of the most high growth, highly successful technology visionary companies in the industry getting together and going, hey, what can we do now?
Batman was an exciting project for us to be able to work with John Dykstra. Things that they wanted us to concentrate on were the bat signal pieces, and it was something that became a centerpiece to the film. It's a real team effort with the software companies. We've had a long relationship with Wavefront and Alias. There's a real sense of confidence that we call, and we're in the middle of production and there's a problem, that they're really able to jump right in there and roll their sleeves up. Places that we didn't think that we were going to be able to even get a job done, we're able to handle, like this Herbie Hancock video.
The intention here is to create something new and novel. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make something very fresh and exciting and take people to a place they haven't been before.
They had 5 weeks to have this project delivered, and we were able to create just over 3 minutes of animation in that period of time, and a lot of it was character animation. And so using these new tools on the software side, we're able to get projects like that done in a very short period of time. We've been experimenting with different motion capture systems for a long time. The biggest difference that it creates for us in the character animation business is to be able to do minutes of animation rather than seconds of animation. So this is it.
This is probably one of the biggest computer games that's ever been put together, but the scale of it's definitely on the scale of a movie. I mean, we've got the equivalent of, and this is a $10 million production when it's all said and done. It's a big endeavor, and that's one of the reasons why we've been going to bigger and more professional tools, is to help us get it out on time, on schedule, and look great. PowerAnimator helps the artists get more creative with them just because, I mean, it has a lot of variety. It's one of those sort of digital things where you can try about 10 things out before you decide what you really like. On Wing Commander 4, we're using Alias 6 to go to the next level, and so what I've challenged my guys with is I want them to generate computer effects, animations that rival what people will see on the big screen, and some of the stuff you'll see in Wing Commander 4 hopefully will blow your mind.
In a lot of the projects that we have to do at our facility, we have to do something that's usually on the edge. All the creatures on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were modeled in Alias. Ivan, who is the main evil character, his essence is ooze, this purple stuff. We animated it on the Alias system. And it provided us with a fairly fast methodology for getting the shape to change over time and to do the weird stuff that poor Ivan had to go through. Ivan has helpers, these critters, and they too are ooze-based. Out of the puddle forms these mounds, and then the mounds become the warriors. We need to have a certain amount of openness and be able to get into the software package to allow us the maximum flexibility for providing these strange effects that we like to do. And Alias is definitely on the right track in that aspect.
life will never be life. Life will never be the same. Time is getting cold. What is going on? What is on your mind? Are your feelings gone? Need to see it clear. Where do we go? Why are you doing things? All the things you do. Life will never be the same. Life is changing. Life will never be the same. Life is changing. Everybody needs somebody to love, to love. Everybody needs somebody to love, to love. In the name of love, you should draw the line. Got to feel secure that you're still mine. Life will never be the same. Life is changing. Life will never be the same. Life is changing. Everybody needs somebody to love, to love. Everybody needs somebody to
Lingering narrative concepts and furtive simplistic montage are the harbingers of the new semiotics.
But language, as a patriarchal construct of insipid teledildonics, obscures the struggle for representational power and ideology.
No. No. We project prefrontally the super-societal oppression of convergent transaction with art. Convergent transaction with art.
Auf Widerschein ist Wonder frugal Hosen, nel principio discordia
Speak to me now, bad kangaroo.
Speak to me now, bad kangaroo. Speak to me now. Speak to me now, bad kangaroo. Speak to me now, bad kangaroo.
Well?
What do you mean?
What's next?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, this,
What are we
this
doing
piece
here?
is far ahead of its
Do you-
time.
I don't know. I thought you...
It's called The End. That's right. End with an E. Yeah. Well, it redefines the concept of cinematic
narrative.
narrative.
You just invent God.
Look, hold on a second. Something just came up. I'm not God. I'm an animator. This is an animation. Your character's in this animation.
Wait. So we're like actors on this stage, right? And you're responsible for our actions and dialogue?
Yeah, I'm doing this cool animation with lots of profound symbolism and political allegory. It's called The End. So you're on this stage, and you're reciting my lines, which will inject this piece with really hip artistic content. Everybody wins.
So what about these sticky things and all these rods and wires in my head?
Oh, those are metaphors. They symbolize your interconnected yet disembodied sense of self.
What the hell do you mean by that?
The bird thing.
Yeah, what is that hand bird thing? Is that another metaphor?
Look, I can't say any more about that. I have to make these metaphors obscure so that the audience will spend lots of time analyzing them.
So the fact that we have no ears, is that another metaphor?
No, the submission deadline's coming up and I didn't have time to do ears. That's called stylistic streamlining.
Wait, this is totally wrong. I do not exist for your animation. I am conscious and I am self-aware. And not only do I have memory of my experiences, I have awareness of my memory of those experiences. If anything, I am creating you. You had no choice but to create this animation, okay? I have free will.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that. So, oh yeah, this animation is revolutionary. It profoundly redefines the concept of cinematic narrative. Well, it subverts the dominant paradigm of social political alienation in the late 20th century. Yeah. Look, I gotta go. Well, I'm trying to come up with a decent ending for this thing. Well, yeah, I have some ideas. Yes, for the ending of this animation.
What kind of ideas?
Okay, here's my favorite idea. There are these two hammers poised on the stage, right? And they represent oppressive forces in postmodern capitalism. And they crush the characters as...
Pretty heavy-handed.
Okay, how about this one? The two characters realize that love is the only way to transcend their existential isolation. So they embrace each other physically, emotionally, spiritually, and politically. And become one with each other as they collapse together in a single quivering mass of love. No.
Boy, that needs a lot of work.
You have any better ideas?
Listen, ditch the two characters. The ending of your animation is about you.
Me? What do you mean?
I mean, you are a work of fiction in your own animation.
That's a lame idea.
Wait, stick with me here. Your actions and your memories are created for you.
Because I'm fictional.
You're fictional. So you can suddenly change form.
So I can suddenly change form at any time, yes. I can become...
30-year-old white male and not even realize it. Or I can become a young Indian boy. Or
an old man and never notice the change. But in my old age...
I realized that I'm a work of my own fiction. Then I realized that as a work of my own fiction, I can create my own ending.
when crunchy roast nuts and delicious smooth chocolates collide inside M&M's. Prepare for a taste explosion!
In the French countryside, where the House of Martel performs the alchemy that creates the world's finest cognac, there is something extraordinary about the very air. Because as the oaken barrels lie in their long, patient hibernation, some of their precious contents simply evaporate into the atmosphere. Legend has it that nearly 300 years ago, a wandering swallow discovered the place and fell in love with its heavenly redolence, returning year after year until gradually she turned to the purest gold. Certainly every spring the sky is filled with hundreds of thousands of these joyous, swooping birds, and the golden swallow reappears again on every bottle of Martel, the art of cognac.